host of The Localist. What you're about to hear is a live recording from one of our Localist Lab events. This is when we bring in experts to talk about practical insights on marketing for small businesses. This session was recorded in front of a live audience, so you may hear some room noise and some shuffling around during the Q&A, but hopefully that just makes you feel more like you were actually there. For more background on the speaker or to view slides from the event, check out our show notes, or you can also grab a ticket there to our next event. I hope you enjoy this conversation. All right. Oh, wow, the lights went down. We're fancy. I'm going to keep talking, and yes, of course, get coffee and get tacos while we're talking, so keep going. That is very important. So good morning. My name is Carrie Rollwagon. I am host of the Localist podcast and now host of the Localist Lab. So this is our first Localist Lab event. Am I loud enough now? Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So on the podcast, I invite local business owners to come and tell us their stories. And yes, they do talk about why you should visit their businesses, and that is part of it, like why they're so cool. But we also really get into the nuts and bolts of how to run a business. So we'll talk about how to manage inventory, or how to work with staff, or how we all learned from being managers that we had way more things wrong with us than we thought, which is what everybody says about management. So we get into the details of how you run a business. And the Localist Lab, the live event, we want to be the same thing. But instead of business owners, we're inviting experts in marketing especially to come and talk about those things that help us get people to our businesses. So whether you're a small business like a mom and pop, or a small business who's doing 10 million in sales, we still want to give you something that you can walk away with and actionable steps that you can use. So our experts, I said, were from marketing companies, and I know these people because I work with them. So the Localist Lab is sponsored by the Lavoie family of companies. So that includes Infomedia, which is where I work, Uptick Marketing, Infomedia Studios, and Tempo. So Infomedia and Tempo both build websites. At Infomedia, we build high strategy, high functionality websites. So if your website is complicated, or if your business is really large, or you have multiple divisions, we usually say if you have a marketing manager on staff already, you're probably a really good fit for Infomedia. And then Tempo also builds really great websites. They build a lot for solopreneurs, for new businesses under 5 years. Maybe if you have a lawyer or a small medical practice, they do great websites for that. And then Uptick Marketing does marketing. That's in the name. Good SEO and AEO, actually. And so they work with any kind of business. And Infomedia Studios is a part of Infomedia. You can probably tell that from the name. But we do photo, video, and podcasting. So if you listen to the Localist podcast or you watch our podcast on YouTube and you're I kind of want to do a similar thing, you can do a very similar thing because we can help you produce it in our studios. So thanks to these companies, and then we're also going to have people representing the companies. You can see the signs around the room. So afterward, if you want to hang out, if you want to ask a question and try to get free advice, I didn't tell them I was going to say that, but you can do that. Or if you're a client, come say hi. Or if you think you might want to be a client, that's a really low pressure way to do that. So you can just talk to them, see if you actually like with them, and if you connect before you fill out a contact form, schedule a meeting, and then realize we don't connect. But you will connect, they're awesome. We are also sponsored by Ladybird Taco. So yes, yay Ladybird. If you go into Ladybird, you probably will see me, so you know that I am a huge fan of Ladybird Taco, and I think we all are gonna be fans by the end of the day because they're here and they're very good. So if you want to say thanks to them, go get some tacos here or at their location. They're across from the zoo and botanical gardens if you haven't been there. And also thanks to Saturn because they've been really great and we're really enjoying this space already. Yeah, yay Saturn. Yay everybody. Okay, so today's topic, we're going to be talking about SEO for the AI era. We put AI in the title because, we had to. Everybody has to now. But really what this is about is just saying, like, how people search and how they find our businesses has completely changed. And also it kind of hasn't completely changed. And Pam's actually going to tell us what I mean by that. But there are some through lines, but also so many people are finding your business through chat now. So we really wanted to give some tips on what you can do to make sure your business still gets found. Our speaker is Pam Darden. Pam is, you can start coming up. Pam is Vice President of Accounts and Revenue at Infomedia. If you've worked with Pam as a client, you know that she's very knowledgeable, but also super practical. Pam is really interested in long-term solution and not short-term tricks, and that's exactly what we want here at Localist Lab. So welcome, Pam.
Thank you, Carrie. All right, SEO for the AI era. So, as she said, I'm Pamela Darden. I've been doing this a long time, but even I have had to learn a lot over the last couple of years because SEO, or search engine optimization, has changed more in the last 2 years than it has in the last 7 combined. It feels like, and some of the uptick people may shake their heads and agree with me, that it changes week to week, and it kind of does. So the rise of AI search, so I'm talking about Google AI mode, Google Overviews, Gemini, ChatGPT, etc. There's dozens and dozens, hundreds of them probably, has changed how users learn about, and in some cases dramatically changed how they get to, or if they get to, your website. So Google now answers questions before showing any links. It's at the top of the page. You can see an example here. They don't really care so much that you're not necessarily getting down below to those other links. Google AI mode, Overviews, ChatGPT, Perplexity, others are kind of the new search engines. So ChatGPT has over 100 million users asking questions daily. Perplexity is sort of the new AI search engine that scans the internet to research and answer questions with citations. It's a little different from ChatGPT. ChatGPT uses a data training model to answer questions, so it's not always the most up-to-date. It does use the internet, but it's not quite like Perplexity. So Perplexity, you get more up-to-date information. ChatGPT, it helps more with writing, those sort of tasks better than Perplexity does. And then millions of searches now end without a single click to a website. So what does that necessarily mean? So in the past, with SEO, you would have optimized for exact match keywords. You would have created separate pages for slight keyword variations. You would focus on density and placement. So you may have, and this is more old school, you may have said, oh, we have the best vending machines 100 times on your website in multiple places. You'd have put it in the header. You'd have put it in your title of your pages. It just would be in a bunch of different places. You wouldn't have necessarily keyword stuffed. We don't do that, but it would have been mentioned several places. So now AI understands context and intent. And what matters now is how well you cover a topic, not how many times you mention it. So pages ranks for topics, not keywords, and semantic depth, so how well you cover it matters more than repetition. So you have content that asks and answers questions like, what is the best vending machine company that can service 10 to 15 locations in Central Alabama? You need to get specific. AI rewards content that answers specific conversational questions. So how does that impact your business? Well, a lot. Fewer clicks for searches that are just informational. If they're asking about kind of what you do, or not necessarily your company, but things that you do or services you provide, they're less likely to necessarily get to you. Featured snippets are replaced by AI summaries. So featured snippets used to really directly source a website. The AI summaries don't necessarily do that. And in fact, less than 1% of the millions of people that are using AI summaries ever click off of those to a website. So they're very, very rarely clicked off onto something else. Traffic drops for shallow or repetitive content. It just isn't going to rank anymore. It's not going to get cited. The goal is that users don't leave Google or AI search. And that's kind of been something it's been steadily creeping up year over year, but now it's really going there. They don't really want them to go to the websites. The goal is to give users the answers without them needing to do further research. So while this can be, on the surface, really good for the user, they're not having to go and look for, I don't want to have to go and look at 10 different websites to see what might be the best fit for me. I just kind of want the research to be done for me. While that's great for the user, it can have kind of devastating consequences for your business. So I gave you an example here. So I searched for the top most reliable plumbers in Helena. I just bought a new house in Helena. I needed a plumber. So part of that, two birds, one stone. In Google, I get sponsored results at the top. Even though I asked specifically for Helena, I get companies that have locations kind of all over and they serve Helena. And then I get more sponsored results. And then I get some national aggregators like Yelp. I'll get Angie's List. And then below all of that, I might get some organic listings. But let's be honest, most people are not scrolling down. But in AI, so I use ChatGPT in this example, I got very specific local plumbers. And not only that, I got why they think they're the best for me, why they meet my criteria, and it bases it on information, not just what's on their website, but also what's being said about them on Reddit, on Yelp, on all these other areas, and it gives it to me in a short, concise, conversational format. It feels like I'm getting a recommendation from a friend and not just a list of blue links. And again, it's getting right to the point. So the good news is, if you have a small business, you got a chance now to show up before they have to scroll down 3 times to get to you on those lists. The bad news is if your website or what's being said about you online does not answer clear conversational questions, you might never end up in the list. So the plumber I actually used wasn't in the list, but they're a great plumber, they just don't have a website. And it worked for me, but anyway. They're very small, so it was fine. My neighbor recommended them. AI is changing how users find information. So even if you didn't show up in the first pages of results in Google before, maybe the second or third, people could still really find you. But if you're really not showing up in AI, they're not digging deeper. They're letting AI do that research for them. They're not doing it themselves. So pretty much what they see here, odds are going to choose an example or choose an option that's come up here. So the rules have changed. You got to get cited, not just ranked. It's not about how well you show up organically in Google. You need to get cited by AI. You need AI to trust you as if you're a service provider, if you have products, whatever it may be, you need to get cited. So the good news, I promise there is some. If you've invested in high quality SEO with a marketing company, or if you've done the legwork yourself, you have not wasted your money and time. The fundamentals are still the same, and in some cases even more important. And what I mean by that is AI did not break quality content. If you've been to my talks before, you've heard me beat this till it's literally dead. AI rewards depth and clarity more than ever. If you are clear about what you do, if you go into detail about what you do, if you don't just say, we provide this service, call us today, you're getting cited already. Technical SEO is more important than ever. Speed, making sure it's mobile, responsive, friendly, making sure that your structured data or your schema markup is complete and there is very, very important. Backlinks, so trust signals. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but do other people see you as a resource? Are other websites, other entities, are they linking to you? This is important. And then local SEO, Google Business Profile. This is Google giving you the ability to kind of interact with how they display information about your business. So this is that little bar or box that shows up on the right side of Google if you're looking for something specific. And that is so important, to keep your listing updated and not just make sure it's correct, but go and update the images, make sure you're engaging with it, responding to reviews, look at it and make sure, hey, if somebody asked a question, have I answered that question on my Google Business Profile? Keep engaged on that because it's so important right now. Okay, so ultimately, what you're trying to do hasn't changed. The house is changed, the foundation is the same. So you're still trying to get found by the right people at the right moment. The platform delivering them to you has changed, but your goal to grow business and serve your user hasn't changed. And you still want to build trust before they ever contact you. So your goal is really still the same, just how they're getting to you, how they're interacting has changed. You may have seen your traffic drop, but maybe your engagement metrics haven't dropped. So maybe your traffic's gone down, who knows how much, 20, 30%, but your actual time on the page has gotten better, or the number of your key events haven't gone down that much. So you're still getting good engagement, you're just getting less of the people just sort of kicking rocks looking for details. So again, if you've been on one of my talks before, you know what EAT is, but EAT, or EEAT, it's Google's content guidelines, but every data system, they all use it. And it's no longer optional. EAT stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Your content needs to follow these guidelines, especially experience, because AI cannot have experience, it's a machine. This is what sets your content apart from all the literally gazillions of AI created content that has absolutely flooded the web. These are things like case studies, stories, examples of your work, whatever it may be, things that talk about your experience, things that how long have everybody been doing what they're doing? If you have people that you have a combined total experience of 400 years, talk about it. Like, what sets you apart from what everybody else is saying? What is unique to your business? So firsthand real life experience with the topic. Expertise is resource content, how-tos, blogs, service pages, formal or deep knowledge in the subject area. So if you have like one key thing that your business, that's what you do, this is what you're known for, do you have very concise but detailed information about that service and what you do? I work with a lot of websites. Infomedia has a lot of clients, and I see it a lot where the service page will have 3 or 4 different services listed with like maybe a little paragraph about each. That is not going to cut it. You have got to be specific about what you do and how you serve your user and what sets you apart from everybody else. If you're just using AI to put that service content, congratulations, so is everybody else. It is not going to get you cited. So EAT, you got to do it. So what does this actually mean? How do we meet the EAT guidelines? So AI systems prioritize recognized brands. Now that does not mean that you have to be the Wendy's or the Costco's of the world. What I mean by that is that you actually have a brand that you stick to. So that could be the voice of your company. Does your content all kind of have one voice, or is it a bunch of different people writing a bunch of different things and it feels like a bunch of different people writing a bunch of different things? Is your branding consistent? Your colors, your logo? I know that sounds like it wouldn't be important, but it kind of is. Because if you have like an event like this and I'm speaking, but I don't have like Infomedia branding or Infomedia language around it, is AI going to pick up necessarily that we're all connected? So it's still important that you have a consistent and recognizable brand. Credible authors. So if you are not giving an author credit on your blog post or your resource content, please start doing that now. And tie it to a real person, someone that's listed on your website that has a bio or an author bio that talks about their credentials. Where do they go to school maybe? What certifications do they have? What's their degree in? How long have they been in this business? What are some relative things they've done that give them credibility? Like, for instance, Carrie, I'm going to pick on you. Carrie used to be a writer for Birmingham News. Carrie has hosted multiple podcasts. She has written books. She's done everything. I don't know how she sleeps or finds the time, but she does. List that in that bio. Give that credibility to that person and tie it to the blog post or the content that they're putting on your website. And even if they're not the ones writing it, I'm going to be the first person to admit I'm a terrible writer. I'm not writing blog posts. Usually that's Jana or someone else from our content team. But if it's a content that I've contributed to, they may give me credit on that author post because I've contributed, I've just not made it sound pretty. So it's okay if it's not that exact person writing it, but you need to have an author credit. You need to have cited sources. So when you're sourcing information, cite that information. You don't necessarily have to get super technical, but if you've learned something from a publication or research guide, cite that information. And then again, you show real world expertise. Your author bios, they matter. LinkedIn profiles, they matter. Remember, AI is not just looking at your website. They're looking all over. So be engaged with what's being said about you. Citations matter. Real case studies matter. First-hand experience, speech, regurgitated summaries. If your content is generic, if it's surface level, if it's easily summarized, it may get indexed, but it is not getting cited, and it is certainly not getting clicked. You're not going to win this with summaries on your website. Okay, so we want to optimize for AI answers. So instead of using broad, generic subheadings, we want to be clear. We want to use FAQs, clear headers, concise summaries. You're going to lead with the answer and then answer it. Think about newspaper articles. You lead with the answer the top story, and then you kind of go into the details below that. That's the way you need to structure your content. So instead of subheadings like our services or why choose us, do I need to replace my air conditioner? How long does a roof replacement take? What does the estate planning process include? Whatever it is your business, whatever those common questions are, answer those. And there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can structure your service pages to answer questions. You can include FAQs. You can include, like I mentioned, resource content that gives you a how-to on things. Answer questions. And that's what AI is looking for, because that's how people engage with AI. When you do that and you do it well, you're more likely to get cited by those AI sources. And so, again, try to avoid vague stuff like learn more or our services or about me. Just be very clear about what it is that you're doing. Because if AI can quote you easily, if that question answer is really easy to quote, then they will. I mean, they're not going to try to work for it. Also, you want to make your services and pricing explicit. AI tools can interpret, and they cannot interpret what we imply. They can understand context, they can. But if we're just saying, contact us for a quote, no. If your competitors are listing prices or listing price ranges, you're not making it on that list. They're only going to pull what they can get the best information from. So if you don't feel comfortable putting pricing on your website or listing specifics, then give ranges. So most full HVAC installations range from $10,000 to $18,000. You want to be really clear, and even if you list your prices, you want to be clear about them. So I've recently worked with a client that they have one main service, but they have sort of different plans. So different, versions of that service. And they're all on different pages, which is great unless somebody asked about a service and I want it to be in this price range. Well, what was happening is so we looked at their business on what AI was saying, and AI was only listing their price range of their top service, the best plan they had, which is like $400 to $500 a month. Well, their actual services start at like $175 a month. But if you looked at what AI, if they put them in a list of top businesses, they were always the most expensive because it was pulling that top service instead of a range. And so what I advised them to do is create an FAQ that gave a range and said, we list out all of our prices individually on those service pages, but we range from this amount to this amount. And then AI is able to update that information and give a better sense. So they no longer look like the most expensive option in the AI results. So be super clear. Don't rely on AI and hope that it puts the pieces together. If it does, it might not be right. Remember, AI makes a lot of mistakes. You got to make it super clear. Okay. We want to think topics, not just keywords. So you want to cover subjects comprehensively. You want to talk in depth about them, have portfolio items. So remember, I've talked about this previously, but you want to show a well-rounded view of what you do. So don't just mention, if you're a lawn care business, don't just mention that you do lawn care. Discuss what that means. What services do you actually do? What services do you not do? That can be just as helpful. When would a customer need to use your services? So if you're in lawn care, when should a customer start talking to you? Like, hey, we start services in March, but you really need to talk to us in February to get a plan up. Answer those questions on your website. Dig into the topic. Don't just mention the keyword. That's not going to cut it. Remember, though, you want to structure the topic with the answer at the top and then the additional details. So you answer it concisely, and then you go into more details so that if they want to pull more information, they can, but that quick answer is at the top. Think about how AI answers questions. So AI tools cite comprehensive sources. They're not going to pull with minimal content. They're going to skip surface level content. If you have like graphs or charts, they may also pull that too. So if in your further details down below you want to break things out, AI may pull that as well. So make sure to kind of provide that information if it makes sense for your business. Okay, so I get this question a lot. All right, well, I want to be found in AI, but can I just write everything in AI? You can use AI. It's a great starting place. Everybody uses it. We use it. Remember EAT, though. You have to kind of inject that EAT content guidelines into your AI content. If you just take AI content and paste it on your website, don't do that. But that's not really going to work for you. You've got to put in what makes it unique to your business, your experience, information about your clients, etc. Also, you need to really, really check what AI tells you. Research, but also the answers. Check the citations. AI is bad about errors and then hallucinations, where it just makes things up. AI is trained to never say no, ever. Even if you ask it an impossible question, it will either make up the answer or it will regurgitate what you said in a way that makes it sound like it's giving you new information. You have to check what's being said, and if it just gives you a whole paragraph of stuff but it doesn't cite anything, then be very, very wary of that. That's probably a hallucination. So always, always check what it's doing. All right, so how do I know how AI ranks me? This is the most fun. You're going to search yourself. You're going to search your business specifically. You're going to do it in multiple AIs. You're not going to rely, so if you're a ChatGPT person, use it every day. Do not rely on ChatGPT because guess what? It has learned about you. It knows who you are. It's going to give you answers that please you. It is always going to put things in a positive spin and gear it around to what it knows about you. So use other AIs, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude, whichever one you want. Use multiple. Ask about what people are saying about your business. Search what you do. Search for not only you specifically, but also the services you provide. Do you come up in those listings? Are you even being cited at all? And if you are, is it correct information? If not, it'll give you a really good place to start on where you need to adjust your content on your website. Dig deeper. Ask AI to recommend service providers in your area that do what you do. Do you get cited? Ask AI to compare you to your competitors. How do you rank? Again, it is always going to put a positive spin on it. It's going to say, oh my gosh, you're doing such a great job. You are winning. You are the best. Go deeper. Ask it to be critical. Ask it to say, yes, but what can I do better? And it is going to give you an answer. It'll still put a positive spin, but it is good information. And I'm not saying that you need to follow everything AI tells you exactly, but it will, especially when you look at multiple, you'll see the commonality of, okay, I probably need to do these things. And then I mentioned it always has an answer. Don't always trust everything, especially if it doesn't cite anything. Okay, so you have homework. I love homework. All right, so AI changed where answers come from, but not what people need. So your SEO foundation is still very valuable, but you need to build on it. If you've been doing SEO, or maybe you haven't, maybe you've just been putting content on your website and hoping for the best, and that sometimes that's okay too. We're businesses, we just can do what we have time to do. AI or AI search, AI engine optimization, it does not mean that you need to reinvent the wheel. Mostly, you can take your existing content and just restructure it and still do pretty well. But first, you kind of need to see what is AI saying about me. So your homework is, who are the best, your industry, businesses in your city? And see what comes up. Do you come up? And then if you don't, start asking questions. Just like I've mentioned about competitors, all of that information, you really want to dig in. If it gives you an answer, and sometimes it'll be long, say, okay, but dive in more into this. All right, so it's saying that your competitors all list pricing, but you don't. You say, well, I do list pricing. Tell me why you don't understand, what's going on with that. So you can kind of keep, and it will keep digging in as well. Okay, the other thing that I put together, if you're interested, I put together a 90-day action plan to kind of get you started. This is by no means every little thing that you could possibly do. But what I did is I created actionable items that are broken out into things you can do yourself and then items you might need help on. Now, if you're super savvy and you've been doing this a long time, you may not need the help, but you may also. So I broke it out that way. So if you scan the QR code, that will take you to sign up for the Localist newsletter. If you sign up, you'll get the 90-day action plan. I just broke it out into months 1, 2, and 3. And also, if you want more information, so Jana, she is a writer with Infomedia. Our newest blog post is all about AI content, and she goes into pretty specific examples of how to structure content, like, hey, don't do this, do this. We've made it absolutely required reading for our sales team. I highly recommend you read this blog post. So it's just really, really great information that I couldn't possibly, this talk would have lasted quite a while if I tried to go through every example, but it is very good information. So highly scan the QR code, get the 90-day action plan, but also please read that blog post. It's good information.
So if we're already subscribed, it just automatically comes, or I need to go find
Well, this is the Localist newsletter, which is different from the... Oh, well then you're good. Yeah, you're good. But if you're just subscribed to the Infomedia newsletter, add this one as well. Carrie sends out amazing newsletters. I'm subscribed. She has great information. So if you're not already subscribed, it's very much worth it. And so that's anything. That's everything. Does everybody? I cannot talk. Does anyone have any questions?
That makes sense. I really am suspicious of any website that says, call us for a free quote.
Yeah.
I want to know your range before I commit myself to my time asking you how much.
Yeah, you never want to get trapped in like a super like heavy salesy situation. I totally agree.
Waste of time.
Exactly. Yes.
Do you think ever in our life that these search engines will, prevent websites that are not ADA compliant from showing up? You think?
It's possible. I mean, oh, yes. Do I think in our lifetime search engines will keep websites that are not ADA compliant from showing up? I think it is possible. I think first we have to get to a point where where it's more clear what ADA compliance means for a website. What I mean by that is some of the language around ADA compliance is extremely contradictive, misleading. It's getting better, but there's still a lot of issues there. But I do think it's possible, just like they did with responsiveness. Now, it doesn't mean that a website would never show up if it wasn't a responsive, like mobile responsive website. But back in, I think, 2012 or 2013, they started limiting it where if you were searching on a mobile phone, that website just wouldn't come up at all. So I think it is very possible, but when it would happen, I'm not sure. Any other questions? Go ahead.
How did the AI research requests show up as web traffic on your website? So if somebody searches your industry, do you see that traffic that AI is doing?
I'm going to repeat the
Oh.
question. That will be my job.
Okay.
Okay. We record these, so that's why we're repeating questions. So he's asking if this is correct, if you're showing up in the AI summary, but they're not clicking on your website, do you even know that? Do you know that that's happening?
That's a great question. The answer is no, you don't. AI does not tell us how many people, like what your impressions are in AI. If they click on a citation that goes to your website, you do see that in your referral traffic. So you should see ChatGPT or one of these others popping up in your referral traffic from time to time. It is by no means an extensive list of how much traffic or how many people might actually be learning about your business through AI. I'm hopeful that we will get there, but we don't have a way to see it now if they're just seeing you in a listing. Go
It
ahead.
can also be helpful to train your sales team to start asking questions, like when it's natural, about how they found out about things. Or even for some small businesses, you can kind of do certain promotions. I guess not that would only show up in an AI summary,
Yeah.
but you can kind of, if you do a promotion that you just started and people are coming in because of that, you know that it came from there, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So
Yeah.
there are some ways you can kind of find out, but right now it's a little bit more just by having conversations with your customers.
Yes?
Does Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT, does it integrate like your YouTube and your Instagram content? Is it like correlating those things?
So the question is, do AIs correlate information or content from things like YouTube, Instagram? You did mention Reddit and some other platforms.
It
but,
does.
you know.
If it's an indexable, so if it's open to be indexed, it should. I'm not entirely sure. I know it'll pull YouTube links if they're asking for specific content, especially resource content or like how-to content. So I think it'll depend on the kind of question for YouTube. And then I'm not sure about Instagram. I'm sure there's an AI that's doing it, but it depends on if the social media is indexable or can be, like it allows them to go and pull all that content. Like Facebook's not indexable. So it kind of depends. But yes, I think it will. I think it depends on the AI and the kind of questions you're asking. Jason, do you have a question?
I do. So, if we followed your advice for the last few years, and written a lot of content, is there benefit to going back and doing an audit and to tweaking their content?
Absolutely.
So Jason is asking a leading question. He's constantly trying to get us to audit our content. So he's saying, if we followed our advice, which Google used to just want massive amounts of content. Like we would have lawn care businesses that were like, I don't want to write a blog every day. And we're like, too bad. Google wants you to. You learn a lot about grass. So he's asking, should you go back and audit that content so it's more relevant, so you're not just showing up in questions about grass, you know?
Yeah. So there's
And
I have.
how often, if so?
Thank you.
And how often, if so?
Yes, and I have a couple of different answers to this question. If you have old blog content and your business has changed a lot, absolutely. If that content is no longer reflective of your business, doesn't represent who you are, you should absolutely go back and review it or remove those old blogs. Don't have stuff out there that doesn't represent you, who you are, just because you want to have content out there. Now, as far as like content, like on your top pages of your website, like service content, who we are, etc., you should absolutely go and audit that content. You don't have to redo everything, but you might need to restructure it. Do you need to change out your headings to sort of follow that more question-answer format? Do you need to make, instead of it being a giant paragraph, which isn't great for users anyway, do you need to add more bullets or more content that's more easily, kind of cited? Yes, you do need to do those things. And then how often? I think at least quarterly would be great. I'd be super happy if you did it quarterly. If you need to do it more often, so if your business changes seasonally, what you offer, what you do, then you might need to be doing it more often than quarterly. It really kind of depends on the kind of business that you're in. But no matter what, you need to stay engaged with the content that you're putting out there, because you cannot expect them to get to your website and just then you get to answer all the questions. You need to make sure that AI is citing the answers and they can get the questions answered and then come to you if they like your business. Go ahead. Yeah.
You can, yes, Chris, go ahead. Sorry.
So I'm doing this, and I'm going into individual pages, and I'm putting questions and answers, which is a couple, so it's not like totally burdensome. But I don't have an actual Q&A section that opens up. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
Is there a benefit? Is it okay if I'm just doing what I'm doing?
So the question is, if you're integrating those answers to the questions throughout your content, is that okay? Or do you need to have an actual FAQ or like question and answer section where it's set up exactly like that?
So I think what you're doing is great. And I would imagine that it's questions and more like long form content underneath. Is that true?
Well, taking your advice, I'll give it a little paragraph and then bullets.
Yeah. Okay, and then go into more details. So I don't think you have to have FAQs. I think FAQs are really great because sometimes when you're writing content for the page, just to give the quick answer feels really awkward. But in an FAQ section, that's the format. Answer, quick, or question, quick answer, question, quick answer. And you can still link to other things and like send them to more information. So I don't think you have to have FAQs. I do think they're really helpful. But I will say is I don't love when FAQs are just all on one page. And it's a tab on your website and it just says FAQ. And then every question related to your business is there. I think that's a terrible user experience. I like it when FAQs are more like just a block on a page and maybe you have 3 to 4 based on that service. Or maybe you have some FAQs in your contact page, like what are the most common questions people who are trying to talk to us that they have. So kind of tie it, like the question, to the page that kind of references that content. And that is beautiful because if AI cites that, they're going to cite that page where if they click on it, they are going to find out more information about what you do. And again, FAQs are a great place to almost not repeat, but kind of be very clear. Even if you've got content above that's maybe in a paragraph, you can be a little bit more clear about it in that FAQ. So you don't have to have them. They're just very helpful.
It can also be good for getting the attention of different users. So for example, Jason, our boss, who asked the auditing question, will never read a paragraph, but he will scan. Like he'll always forward us emails that says, I love this, but it just means I love these 3 headlines, which a lot of us do that. We're scanning content. We're doing this quickly. So one benefit of adding the FAQ is that you get the people who want to read and dive in, and then you also get people who are just going to scan and go quickly.
Yes.
But you don't have to set it up with the accordion FAQ style. You could also have it kind of just like 3 subheads that are asking FAQs that are just a question. So if it's just kind of like, this is making my page look wonky, you can use design to present it differently.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways to skin that cat. Like you don't necessarily have to add new functionality just to add that FAQ. If you don't already have an FAQ module on your website, you can kind of style it different ways to make it still have that same feel. Go ahead.
Are there, you kind of mentioned the trust signals. Are there any new or unexpected trust signals except for backlinks, specifically for local soccer orientations?
Yeah. The question is, are there any new trust signals specifically for taco-oriented businesses? But yeah, there are, and you can speak more to them. I will also say Reddit is really huge now.
It is.
Also in Google searches. Like, I'm finding it come up so much more. So it's funny, like, we're always working at our office on building, like, LinkedIn profiles and things like that. But Paul is super active on Reddit and is never probably going to make a LinkedIn profile. But that can still be really useful for us.
Yeah. So the answer is yes. There's more than just backlinks. Look at the security of your website. That is a huge trust factor. Do you have an SSL? Is your website secure? Are you collecting data in a secure way? All of these things really matter. You don't necessarily have to have backlinks in order to build a trust signal. So AI and everything Google, it recognizes brand mentions even if it doesn't link back to you. So what people are saying about, this is where Reddit and stuff comes in, what people are saying about you in these other websites, even if it never links to your website, it matters. Google reviews also matter. It's just it's more stuff matters now, but all of these things kind of add to that trust factor.
So the fact that Lady Bird was on the Localist podcast
Yes.
will still benefit Lady Bird, even if it's not, I mean, we did link to you guys, but even if we hadn't, you'll still get that benefit.
Exactly.
And I do think that has changed a little bit, like more videos and audio is being indexed. It is, I think you can control that a little bit more by including a transcript and, making a good headline and kind of urging things to find that content. But it is, different search engines are kind of finding that content on their own now. So that is good. If somebody's making TikTok videos about you or making, like, those kinds of things are good. They're going to contribute.
Yeah. Any other questions? Elena, way in the back.
Can AI share information that you told it but isn't on your website necessarily?
Can AI share information that you have told it, even if it isn't in your website? So could you get into ChatGPT and be like, the best website company?
just ask that over and over and over again and be like, well, it must be true.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes and no. I think in the way that, like, you can't necessarily prompt it a bunch of times and it's going to believe what you're saying. If you are paying for AI, you can choose to not have anything you share with it go into its data learning models. If you are not, then everything you're putting in is being used in the data learning models. It does not mean that they're necessarily going to regurgitate it, but they are using your information to train what it's doing. So now the implications of that, I could not begin to answer. I have no idea what's coming and all this data that we're putting into AI. I hope it's not terrible. It might be. But so the answer is yes or no. Yes and no, not or. Yes and no. It depends on if you're paying for it and if you've told it, hey, don't use what I'm putting out there. But yeah, any other questions?
So it will share my searches.
Not,
I asked like
Yeah.
specificity. I want 5 categories, 10 bullets in each on this topic, blah blah blah, and I hit it.
the question is, will it share your searches? And I think the answer is not necessarily. It's not that I think we're saying we would not recommend trying to game AI by talking to it and telling it what to tell other people.
Yeah.
Maybe it will work, probably not. But just with anything online, like what you tell it could end up somewhere else. And it is true that you can ask it not to feed the models, and that will probably work. But also, just like anything else online, I wouldn't put anything you really don't want to get out there personally, even if it were telling you that it's not feeding its
for
models.
me, I won't put any sensitive data in AI ever. Like even though we pay for it and it says it doesn't share anything with the models and it's not recorded, I will never do that. Like I'll put in lots of information just to help, but that's a line I'm not going to cross because they're telling us they're not going to sell it or do anything with it, but y'all may remember a company that was collecting our DNA for those DNA testing kits, and then they sold all that data. So just because they're saying it now doesn't mean that won't change in the future. So that's up to you. It's a personal decision, but you hope that they're not sharing it. But no, I don't think I could search for, what is she searching for today? It's not going to just tell me that. Yeah.
That's why I only use it as a research.
Yeah.
This information.
Yes.
I try to paste it in my place.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, any other questions? We'll have people in the booth so we can answer it that way. So, we have Uptick Marketing, Tempo websites, and Infomedia Studios in the back. They have a TV. I'm like, which one is which? They're the one with the video. And Infomedia. So we'll answer those questions, and then you can always hit up Infomedia. You can ask a question on our social media. We'll get to that eventually. Or if you're a client, of course, you can hit up Pam or your account manager and get answers to those questions.
Yes.
I also hope that you will listen to the Localist podcast. This was a funny episode. They didn't take their sunglasses off the whole time. And one of them I'm married to. But
You have to guess which one.
yeah. But we did want to show you the studio a little bit. You can see the studio if you watch us on YouTube. We're there. If you are interested in doing a podcast yourself, this is where we shoot our podcast. And if you're like, I'm not ready for a podcast, but I kind of want some to look like I was on a podcast for my social media, we actually do that too, which is actually way more popular. So follow the Localists, please. Please, rate and review. Give us some citations. But we're available wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, we've been recording this this event. So that will be on the Localist podcast, and it will also be on the Infomedia events page. So it'll be up in about 2 weeks. The video. You can find the video and the audio there. So if you liked what you heard today and you want to share it with your team, feel free to share that. And then please come to the Localist Lab in April. Our topic is going to be, sorry, I can't see this at all, but small business marketing. It's about small business. Yeah, you read it. It's a lot darker in here than mine.
Why your small business marketing isn't working and what to fix first.
Yes, and our speaker is going to be Lane from Uptick. And Lane is incredible. If you've worked with her, you know that. She has a ton of ideas. And I've actually hired her personally with my own money to work on my stuff. So I really believe in it. And the Localist Lab was actually her idea, doing a live event. So if you enjoyed this, you'll like Lane's ideas. So that will be, I think, if you go to the events page, it has the date. I don't want to tell you because I'll tell you wrong. So check that out. The slides will be there, all of that stuff. And say hi to the people in the booths. Even if you're just like, I feel sorry for you because someone should talk to you, that's also okay. Thank you all for coming. Small businesses grow because of people like you who are showing up and learning more and putting so much into it. So thank you for all you do for your businesses and for the community. Thanks. Thank you so much for listening to this Localist Lab session. Again, if you'd like tickets to the event, check out the show notes. The tickets are free, and we would love to see you there. And as always, whether you're buying from a local business or running one, remember that what you do makes our community stronger every day.